Hi, my name is Ali Deniz Özkan. I am the founder and sole member, pretty much, of the band Black Sea Storm. And in this video, I'll be sharing the writing and the recording process of the latest Black Sea Storm album called İsmimi Bulutlardan Aldım, which translates to English as I was named after the clouds. Since 2017, I live in Latin America, and in 2018, my lifestyle has become like a full nomadic lifestyle. And this last album I recorded, I was able to record it with the touring gear in Mexico. And so pretty much the entire writing and recording process happened in Mexico with the touring gear, meaning my acoustic guitar and this mic, the SM57, and obviously like a sound card, the computer, and at one point I purchased a preamp as well, but everything nomadic. So I traveled through 6 different cities, including Culiacán, Mazatlan, Monterrey, Hermosillo, Querétaro, and Guadalajara. So in 2022, pretty much the entire year I spent it in my hometown, home country, Turkey, and I did a Turkish tour of 21 dates. I was able to tour like the 4 corners of my native country. It was an amazing experience. And late November 2022, I headed back to Mexico. It was my 5th visit to Mexico, and so I had already gathered like some ideas during the Turkish tour on my phone. So I had some ideas, and from November to March I gathered some more ideas in Mexico. And at the time I was in Mazatlan in Sinaloa, and I had to leave the apartment I was staying in. They rented to somebody else. So I decided to go to Guadalajara. So I went to Guadalajara, and something pretty amazing happened there. Like all of a sudden, all the ideas I had gathered from the Turkish tour and the first months being in Mexico for the 5th time, the ideas started to take form into like song backbones, and within less than a week I had like 10 backbones for songs. And something I noticed is that at that time of the year in Sinaloa, the weather was a little bit chilly and humid, and once I made it to Guadalajara, somehow it was like a drier and warmer like weather, and it affected the guitar, my acoustic guitar, in a positive way. Like the action was way better. Like I could feel that the wood was a little bit like drier, and I think that kind of played the role. Like as if like in Sinaloa I was kind of running with weights, and as soon as I arrived to Guadalajara, like all the ideas start. With existing ideas and new ideas start pouring, and since the guitar was like easier to play, I started having some ease to put together like backbones of a song. So I stayed there like a couple of weeks before going back to Sinaloa, and on the last day I was there, like I met this girl from on Tinder, and she happened to put a show together, but in a week. Uh, so, like in about 10 days or so. I had already made arrangements to go back to Sinaloa, so it wasn't very convenient, but I said yes, yeah, sure, like I'll play the show. So I went back to Mazatlan, stayed a week there, and then returned to Guadalajara. And it was interesting because when I went back to Sinaloa, again the guitar, the action got it was more difficult to play on the guitar. And then when I returned for the second time to Guadalajara, the action adjusted itself to perfection again. So it wasn't in my head; it was really like happening the way it was happening. And so I played the show, and then I stayed a couple weeks there, and then the rest of the time I just kept working on the backbones. Then I went back to Mazatlan, kept working on the songs, on backbones. So at one point I had like 17 ideas for songs, and so on this album I experimented with a technique I called I'm sure there's an official name for it, but I don't know it, but I called it like a horizontal album writing, which is my understanding of it is that like instead of writing a song from start to finish with all the instruments, we focus on multiple songs at the same time, first at the backbone level. So once we have structured the backbones of the songs, then we add then we add all the vocals, the drums, the bass, second guitars, like. So it's a different approach for me, because up to that point I had already written. I had always like written songs like one by one, and this was like an experience where I was writing multiple songs at the same time. And as I said, like at one point I had like 17 song ideas, and that's the challenging part, is like it's to wrap like my head around like that many songs, that many ideas, that many parts, because I mean you can do the math, like if each song has like at least 4 or 5 parts times 17, I mean it's a lot of parts to remember. Another challenge was like usually within the process of songwriting, the song title comes last. Like that's like at least for me, I usually start writing with the guitar or the bass, then add the layers, like the instruments, like the vocals, and once I have the lyrics, then the song is pretty much done. I mean the last step is to name the song, because now we know what it's talking about. But with this technique, when since I had so many different song ideas, numbering them, it was like, of course I could number them like from 1 to 17, but then since everything is new, it's kind of, oh, let's play number 5, but there's no reference. Like how am I gonna know what song is number 5? And so of course I could do it with like the computer, like have files and everything, but what I decided to do was to give like temporary names to the songs, and in order to find names, I was mostly looking at the clouds and observing like around me, like, and so I had like titles like eagle's head, or like the the the bird on a wire looking left, things like that, like, so very like imagery based. And that's kind of what gave the title of the album. Like, I was named after the clouds because I was using this technique not only to name the songs, but also like to I just decided to be more aware of my surroundings and what was going on, and the clouds, nature, the embracing that idea that that everything comes from the universe, and it materializes itself into our soul, and then I mean it goes through our through our imaginary world, our soul, and then materializes itself through our fingers and the instrument. And so that was kind of the during the entire writing process, I was really taking the time to observe the surroundings, and Mexico is like, it's so beautiful, and even in the urban areas, you're always not too far from nature, or nature is really like somehow present, and the places I was visiting, it's always sunny. There's always like this like high amount of lights, like, and that really gives me a lot of like energy, positive energy. So in Mazatlan, the second time around, like I had enough like backbones pretty much, and then again I had to go because the place was I always rent the same apartment, but somehow it gets when there's a high season, it gets people rented, and I each time I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be more proactive, I'm gonna rent it ahead of time, and I always forget, and like there's always like it's either around Christmas time it gets really popular as a destination, or there's also some Easter, it's very popular, and there's a motorcycle week. There's all these like events, and people book ahead of time the apartments. So I had to go once again, and this time I decided I'm gonna go, because I lived I think I lived in 23 different cities in Mexico so far, and so this time I was like, I'm gonna go somewhere where I never went before. So I went to Monterrey and Nuevo León. So I took the bus from Mazatlan and went to Monterrey, and over there I rented a studio, an Airbnb studio, and the place was kind of, the interior was kind of, the way it was designed, it wasn't. I'm sure they had to like solve some problems, like, because the design was really strange, but the ceilings were pretty high, and in front of the corners of like the room, there were some pillars like supporting the ceiling, and I think somehow it really helped the acoustics, because with the corners, like you often have the issue that some frequencies will bounce and get stuck in the corners, and so the way the interior was designed this way, with the pillars in front of the the corners of the room. I think he helped the acoustics, and so I started recording, and the guitar sound I will get was the best I could get so far with all the apartments I was in. So I was happy in that regard, but it wasn't all that quiet. Like the place I was staying, like the door will give on the street, and then there was also like another apartment that was the like a neighboring apartment, and there was like a condemned door in between, but the noise will go through, like it will go through. At one point there's a lady living there, and she will talk with her boyfriend over the phone. I mean, I could hear everything she was saying, but I could also hear through the phone what the boyfriend was saying. Like I could follow the entire conversation. So that was like that was a challenge. And then also the road was like at certain hours, like it was really busy. So I had to really be patient. Like I will do some takes. Like I will do take one. I play it, I record it, and then say I mess it up. Like so, second take. Again, I play it, then I make a mistake. Third take, I make a mistake. And fourth take, say I played perfect, but now there's the trash truck passing by. So it's like I didn't make any mistake, but it's the result is the same. I mean, the take isn't all that usable. But what I would do, like to zen the whole thing, to be more zen with the whole thing, like I'll, especially with the backbones, like I really like to do it in one take. I don't like to edit too much because I believe that like you got to know how to play your song, like at least the backbone, like you have to from finish to end, and each time you play it there's a certain energy, certain, like each take has its own like identity. So I always try to play from finish to end the backbones. And so what I would do is like no matter what, I will do 3 takes and not care too much about the noise or mistakes. And so try to perform like the best way possible, and then do 3 takes no matter what. And sometimes if I get lucky with the noise situation and I do a good performance, it will be 1 take. But if it's like a small moments, then I will just edit like those little moments where if there's a noise or something. So I did all the what happened is that I think I only rented the place for a couple weeks, but then since I had a good guitar sound, I decided to I said, oh, I need to extend my stay, because I wanted to at least the backbones have like the pretty much the same sound on the guitars. So to have an album unity, so like I decided to extend my stay, and so I think total I stayed like a month or so in Monterrey. I was able to put in the can like the 11 songs. So I had already gotten rid of like 6 songs. So I had 11 songs, and for a long time I was thinking like that's the album, like that's gonna be the 11 songs. And so after Monterrey, what happened is like I met this other girl like on Tinder. I think we met while I was still in Mazatlan. But somehow, it was like a little miracle. Like we were at, she's from Culiacan, so she's from Culiacan, and I was in Mazatlan, and somehow we matched in Mazatlan, but somehow she was at the same time in Monterrey when I was visiting there. So we met in Monterrey, and then she went back to Culiacan, and then I thought I could go to Culiacan to join her and do the like the vocals and drums over there, like continue the album over there. So that what happened. Like after recording the guitars in Monterrey, I went to Culiacan, and I think I spent like, if I'm not mistaken, like a month and a half, maybe 2 months in Culiacan. And in Culiacan, I did all the vocal melodies and then the lyrics. Then I laid down all the drums with the virtual drummer, and then I start making demos. So I started making demos, and I'm like an album listener. Like I don't like playlists all that much, and I don't like to listen. So I like to listen to albums. So that's something I did lots of demos, like to decide the order of the songs, like what. The idea was to. So it can be an album, like it could be listened as an album. That was like one of my priorities. And then once I listened to it as an album, it had the most impact possible on me as the listener. So, and that's like a interesting chemistry, like, because you can have, for example, 10 songs, and you add a 11th song, and then that 11th song is great by itself, but maybe it takes away the momentum of the album, like that impact, or you get like wherever you place it, maybe it loses like intensity or something. So that's kind of because I ended up taking out like 3 songs out of the 11, and the final like the final like set list for the album, it was like 8 songs, but the actual 3 songs, they were good songs. Like I didn't take them away because of quality, but more because one was like very prog. It was like a 7-minute song, so I really enjoy playing it. I really like all the parts, but then it's like when you place it in the album, like at least at that time, like it felt like you could get lost into the song, and that makes you stop listening to the album actually. And one of the song was like it was too pop, like it was like it just felt too sugary to me. I took it out, and the third song I took out, I don't remember which one, which song was like. But anyways, so like I did all like so I was making demos, and then I have this like membership on a mastering program called Lender, and so it's not as good as like a professional like mastering engineer, but the good thing is like with the membership I have, you can make as many masters as you want. And so I will make those like demo albums with mastering and see how it would sound. And they also have this section you can master as albums, like you can master as songs, but you can also master like mock albums. And so I was listening to the demos, and my idea was that since I'm I only have my touring gear, so I didn't have a bass guitar with me, and but my philosophy was that you got to do with what you have. And earlier that year in January, I read this book called The Creative Act from Rick Rubin. I actually want to do a video on that book because it was for me it was a life-changing book. And one of the things Rick mentions, it's that there's no excuse. Like, you got to do with what you have. I mean, there's no excuse to not make art. So, like, of course it's nice to have a big studio, of course it's nice to have gear, but if you don't, it shouldn't stop you from making art. And so he convinced me on that, like, and then so I was like, I only have a acoustic guitar, I only have a SM57 that I use on stage, and a multi-purpose mic, and so I'm gonna do the album with that, and that will be the album. But while I was listening to the demos, I'm originally, I consider myself a bass player. Like, I did most of my career as a, it's a big word, but my career as a rocker on the bass guitar. And yeah, my identity, like, I still to this day, I feel like I'm my main instrument is the bass. So while I'm listening to the demos, like with the drums, the acoustic guitar, the vocals, and everything, the bass player in me wanted to lay down some bass tracks, and I could hear some of them. Like, I could hum them, and and the bass is a very visceral thing. Like, it's just, I always say, like, you don't play bass with your fingers, you don't play bass with your ears, but it's more like something here. It's very, so like that, like the inspiration comes from here, like and I will have that. Like, I was listening to the songs and I'm like, I just want to pick up the bass and lay down some bass tracks. Then I was like, how can I do that? And then in 2021, early 2021, I was in Mexico again, and I was in Hermosillo, in Sonora, and I recorded an album with a producer called Cacho Olivares. And Cacho, he's originally a bass player, and he has multiple bass guitars and other instruments. He has drums, he has all kinds of instruments, and so I decided to give him a call. So, like, I was like, hey Cacho, I'm in Culiacan, almost finished an album, like, I just want to add some bass. And he was really nice. He was just like, just come over here and I'll lend you a bass. So I was like, I'm gonna jump on this opportunity. And so I took the bus from Culiacan and headed north to Hermosillo. And so it was like July or mid-July, something like that. And it was really hot. And then Hermosillo is really hot. And during the summer, it's just... It's I love hot weather, but Hermosillo, it's a different league. But a funny thing happened on my way up, is that the bus I took from I think it was called the Elite, the bus company, the air conditioning wasn't working, and it was like a sauna, and it was really bad. Like, it was really hot, like, inside the bus. And some people left midway. We're in north of Sonora, and they couldn't take it anymore. And I think we were in north of Sinaloa, almost Sonora, like a guy got inside the bus, and then he quickly realized that it was like super hot. Like then he asked, "Oh, the air is not working," and we're like, "No." And so he left, like he didn't want to take the bus. But then somehow, when we made it to Sonora, like the driver had the idea that to open the window above, and that like it was a relief. But then I was just like, I think we rode the bus for like 8 hours before thinking of that, like that solution. But anyhow, like the good thing was that was good training. Like it was really painful, but then when I actually made it to Hermosillo mid-July, everybody was asking me, "Oh, it's really hot. I mean, can you handle it?" And actually, the bus ride was like it was a good training before passing a couple of weeks in Sonora. But it was really hot. Like it's like you got to like wake up really early in the morning, like if you want to exercise, like things like that. Because at 9:30 the sun starts like it starts like burning you at 9:30, and then from like 1 in the afternoon to 4:30, like I mean, forget about going out. Like it's really, you have to be inside. It's really hot. I mean, there were moments where I was like I was like I wish it was 36 degrees Celsius so I can go out, like, because it was 45 between 45 to 50 degrees Celsius, and so I had like dreams of it would be great if it was only like 36, 35, and but it was like I think so Cacho ended up like lending me 3 bass guitars instead of one. That was great. And we have this common friend called his name is Adalberto Salazar, and he has a guitar repair shop, and he also makes his own pickups. And I met him through Cacho the first time I was there, and the guy is amazing. Like he spent over a decade in Tucson, Arizona, and he's a great like guitar. He's a luthier, guitar tech, and he also makes like pickups. And so he did the setup on 2 basses for me. Like Cacho had one set of strings for one of the basses, and for the other one, the Music Man, I purchased some new strings. Adalberto, he did the whole setup, and then also, like, when I was done with the recording, I wanted to change the gauge of my strings. Finally, I was able to find like heavier strings, like 1356 and Hermosillo. So he also did the setup on my acoustic guitar, and then I purchased 2 pickups from him because in my home country in Turkey, I purchased this guitar. Like it's a PRS, but it's like a standard, like it's the cheapest one. And I really like the ergonomy of the guitar. It's like it's really well balanced. It's not too heavy. It's very easy to play. But for some reason, it sounds like crap when I record with it. It's really not, like, it was a big disappointment. And so yeah, I thought, maybe I'll get some pickups from Adalberto and give it a shot. And when I told him about the situation, he said that he had read articles like that it was a common thing, there were some other people that weren't that happy with the tone of the guitar. So we'll see. Like, I have the pickups with me, and when I go back when I go back to Turkey, I'm gonna put those pickups on the PRS. So then I laid down all the. Yeah, it took me about a week. I laid down all the bass tracks, and I was done. Like I was pretty much done with the album. End of July. I think I sent it to release on July 27th. Yeah, the thing is, like with the mixing, I was really, because I have like some portable mix monitors, and since I'm always like in hostels or Airbnbs or staying with friends, it's like I was really not like confident with the room. Because the room is so important. Like, so what I decided to do from the get-go is like to always have like to mix it as it's a final mix, and not wait to be done and do a mix. Like, so I had this like I opted for this strategy to always try to have a mix. That way I could since I'm always moving, I could listen to it in different rooms and somehow make better like decisions. Like oh, the guitar sounds good in this room. It sounds good in this room. Maybe it doesn't sound that good, but like if it sounds good, like 3 out of 4 rooms, maybe more or less, it's on the good ballpark. I don't know if it's a valid approach, but that's the approach I had. So all that to say that once I was done with the bass, I was pretty much done with the mixing as well. So and the entire time I was always mastering. So also I had a pretty good idea on how to master and how to. So on end of July, I think it was a couple days before my birthday. Like I was just like I just sent it to for release, and then the official release date was like August 25th. Like, so I decided to give it a month, like to do all the promotion, and so then that's exactly what happened. So once I was done with the creative process, I just with this album I wanted to do everything. I wanted to put all the chances on my side and do a proper work from beginning to end with the album. And so I did all the promotion the best I could. I had a press kit with a press release, photos. Then I had a landing page with all the different streaming platforms and everything. So I tried to invested a lot of time, like to promote the album. Best way possible, and so it was like the entire experience was like I almost want to call it like an exercise. Like, I mean, now it's too early to say if the album is good or it's better than the previous albums or not. Like that I don't know, but what I know is that the whole experience was amazing. Like that idea to be very open to the surroundings, like the horizontal songwriting approach. Another thing that Rick Rubin convinced me was like to not hesitate to throw away songs. Like and with this album, I always that was one of the strategies I adopted. Like always go towards what excited me. And once there was a song that wasn't exciting anymore, like not I didn't hesitate to throw it away, because I noticed that sometimes like excitement comes from novelty. Like, so uh, so when you have a new idea, it's always exciting because it's new. But sometimes it's just the idea. All it has, it's that excitement from novelty, and it doesn't survive through time. And so that's why it's a good filter. Like to sometimes it's harsh because I mean I throw away songs that I spend like hours and hours like to put together, but yeah, to listen to your heart, like what really excites you. And Rick says it like, if you have 15 songs, like think about like what are the 5 songs you couldn't live without, and focus on those. Like, and so that was that was like one of the techniques. And the I don't have the answer to that, but for some reason for this album, all the material that will come from the clouds or from the universe, it was very difficult to play for me. It was like as if I was like trying to learn like a cover song from a different guitar player, and that doesn't. I mean, it was almost like I was playing somebody else's like licks, and that was very challenging. Like there was part I will never like. I had to spend time to wrap my head around, and so I don't know the reason behind it, but it was like it was a great opportunity for growth, because it was like learning how to play in a different way. And so the entire album was the entire experience of recording in different cities and different setups, overcoming all these like challenges. I mean, all the bus rides and making sure that I don't damage any material or nothing gets stolen, and so all these challenges and making it happen no matter what. It was I'm really thankful for that, because again, I don't know what the album is worth, like time will tell, but this experience is gonna help me in the future. Like I feel like I made some progress as a creative person, as a musician, as a as an internet marketer. And so that's the other thing. Like now I tend to say, like, I mean, it's all good to be a creative person, but like finishing the album, it's almost like 49% of the work, because the rest is like, if you don't put a lot of effort to promote it, then I mean, nothing will happen. And I put a lot of effort, and I'm still putting a lot of effort to promote it, and still not much is happening. Like, I mean, but still I got some stuff. I got like some reviews, and got one review in a really cool magazine in Turkey. Like it's was like the right blog, like the right magazine to be in. And so things happen, and this Spotify algorithm like start picking up. Like it's been over a month now. It starts picking up a little bit, like some of the songs on their algorithmic playlists, and so yeah, we'll see. But I'm no matter what happens, I'm really. I'm really happy and proud that I did the whole, like I see it as an exercise. Like it was just like, it's like giving birth. Like, and now I have a total new perspective for the future and the newer songs, and talking about the future right now, I'm actually trying to get those songs like stage ready, live ready. And that's another challenge, like, because on this album, not only the guitar parts can be somehow difficult, but also how they layer with the vocals rhythmically. It's like there are parts, it's just insane, at least for me. Like, and I mean, way more complicated, like in terms of independence of the vocals and what I play on the guitar. it's another level, and that's also a good. It's been a good exercise because like when I started working on it, like actually I saw it coming. Like while I was in Culiacan, and I was already. I'm making sure that it still records. Yeah, I was already like, man, this is gonna be tough for live performances. Like, so I when I wasn't recording, I was working on the parts and like try to really internalize the parts. To get stage ready, I was like practicing them, like standing up. And yeah, that's also another until now I was always like playing because I play the acoustic by myself, so I will always sit down. But I mean, rock and roll, you shouldn't sit down. So like so yeah, it was in Culiacan I started playing like standing up, and yeah, and now I'm like singing and playing. It's still some work to do, but now I see the light end of the tunnel. Like it's possible, and that's the beauty of it. Like it always like fascinated me. Like you could sing and play pretty much anything. Like if you put in the work, and then more you do challenging things, then more independent you become. So it's like it's not only about like learning how to sing and play like a particular song, but it's also like it makes you grow. So like then a song that you'll be writing in a month that will be maybe a bit easier in terms of independence. You'll get it done maybe right away, like or quicker. So it's a good investment, and it's just yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, I wanted to share so the writing and recording process of the latest Black Sea Storm album with you guys. It's the first time I'm doing a video in English. And so to give a little bit of background, like I spent like 11 and a half years in California, in San Diego. And so I had very poor English when I arrived. So then being in California for that long, I had a pretty good level of expressing myself. But in 2011, I left California. And since then, I always read books in English. I watch videos like in English. I write. I have a blog, like because I also did a college in the United States. So that's when I have to write a paper or something. That's I wouldn't say that English is it's not the best language I speak, but for writing, that's the language that works the easiest for me. But since I left California in 2011, I almost don't have the opportunity to speak in English. And then in 2017, when I made it to Latin America, I was like, I really need to. I already had some bases in Spanish because already in California, I mean, I had lots of Mexican friends, and I worked with Mexicans in San Diego, and I always had a lot of interest. So I took classes in college, and then I took some conversation classes, and so I always had the interest for Spanish. But when I arrived in Buenos Aires, it was like I still didn't have like a very high level of Spanish. So I decided, you know what, like if you're gonna be living here, you need to learn. So I started with I said, well, for 3 weeks I'm not gonna speak any English, any French, any Turkish, just speaking in Spanish. And then I did the 3 weeks, and I loved it. I was just like, wow, that's great. So I stopped calling my friends that I will speak in English with. And then it's just it was crazy. Like up to now, like I almost never speak in English, and socially, it's like I developed like this complex that yeah, I don't want to be associated with like I don't know if it's in my head or like but if you speak English in Latin America, like I feel like the locals, they put you in a certain box. And when I with my physique and me speaking like fluent Spanish, like sometimes like for example, right now I'm in Colombia. Like I mean, I don't even know if they notice that I'm that I'm a foreigner. I don't know. Like so it's a very so I don't know. Like it might be only in my head, but the end result is that I stopped speaking English for a year, for more than decade now. So yeah, little by little. So like maybe doing. So I decided to shoot videos. Like I speak 4 languages. So I'm gonna go all out. Like I'm gonna be making videos like in all the languages I speak. Like because maybe that way I can reach different audiences. Like and I have no ambition to be a YouTuber or like I don't care that much about social media. Like media. All I care about is like bring people to my music and the experience of writing music and traveling to the unknown and all those things. Like if I can bring people to the adventure, it's great. But I personally don't like too much social media. I should say anymore, because when you first started, like it was exciting. Like I think I opened my Facebook account in 2006. Back then it was like, I mean, you were communicating with real people and stuff, so it wasn't that bad. But then I got sick of it. But for an independent rock band like Black Sea Storm, I mean, I could do it differently, of course. But I mean, it helps. Like it helps because I don't have a label. I don't have any support like that way. So I have to self-promote to bring people to my music and the adventure that goes with it. So yeah, I'll be doing more videos in English and other languages. And yes, I mean, if you that's a really long video. Like if you made it to this so far, thanks a lot. And yeah, if you can check out the album, that'll be great. Like that's the best gift that a musician can have. I mean, I make music for myself, like as the listener. Like I always that's also something like Rick Rubin. Like that's something that when I was reading the book, I was like, oh yeah, like I think we think the same way. Like it's just like you make music for yourself, but then if you decide to release it, then yeah, I mean you want people to. I mean, it's always nice if people take the time and listen to your music and to see. It's exciting to see how like each song has its own destiny. Like I have songs, like I see, like when I get reports, like bi-weekly reports. I mean, there's one song that has like 400 listeners, and then there's one song that has 3 listeners, like in like the 2 weeks period. But like when I wrote 2 songs, it was the same. Like for me, it was like I was as happy, because if I wasn't happy, I wouldn't release it. But somehow how we perceive the music that we make and how the outside world perceives it is like it's different, and it's exciting to see that like the destiny of each song. I mean, that's so yeah, I always believe, because you could think of like oh yeah, I'm only making music for myself, so you could write like 1,000 songs and never release. But I think that you grow so much once you release it. Like that's really important. To at one point you say, okay, this is done now, and I'm releasing to the what came from the universe. I'm sending back to the universe, and then you have no control. Like it's not your song anymore, and then people decide. I mean, if they like it or not. And I think for growth, that's really really important. Like how many times like I was really psyched about the song or something, and once you release it, and you're like, oh, did I leave enough headroom, or did I? Oh, is the bass too locomotive? Like then you learn the hard way. Like you really start hearing your mistakes and stuff. Like it's almost like before releasing it, you were in your like dream world, and everything was perfect. But once you release it, it's reality. And it's the same with when you play live. I mean, like yeah, I watched this interview of the Pantera guys. Like the bass player, he says like, you're as good as your last show. And yeah, I totally agree with that. Like when you're on stage, your performance at that's the reality. It's not you playing in your bathroom or you're on your sofa. Like that's not your level. Your real level, it's like your performance of your last show. Like and releasing albums is the same thing. Like because it's just a statement. You say, okay, I opened myself to the universe. That energy came to me. This is what I produced, and this is it. And now I'm presenting to the world. Like and then there's no going back. Well, thank you for watching this video, and yeah, if you can check out the album, I'll be really happy. Thanks a lot.